two of us from India. That is, one is Dr. Chitrajan Yajnik, who is a diabetologist from Pune in Maharashtra. And the other one is myself, Dr. Nihal Thomas from CMC Vellore. Both these articles talk about the interface of diabetes with social aspects and regional aspects, more than medical aspects.
இந்த நீரிழிவு நோயை பற்றி இந்த லான்செட் அப்படிங்கிற பத்திரிகை, அந்த லான்செட் பத்திரிகைன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா நீங்கள் வந்து மருத்துவத்துறையிலேயே எதிர்பார்க்கப்படுது.
The line at the bottom is type 1 diabetes. Now type 2 diabetes is what most people have.
The type 2 diabetes என்னுடைய வரைபடம் தான் அந்த உயர்ந்து கொண்டு போகிற அளவு.
High alcohol ingestion, that means more than 2 pegs per day, is also a risk factor for diabetes. High BMI. So a BMI more than 23.5 in an Indian is actually obesity. When we say overweight, when we say a Western person, it may be more than 25. Cannot be understated. Over the last 40 years, there's been a huge change in dietary habits. People in villages were actually eating very healthy about 40 to 45 years ago, taking large quantities of ragi. Now that has changed. Obviously with cereals like rice and polished rice for that matter becoming very cheap, and with government schemes actually providing this, people are ingesting a lot more white rice. And this is done in an uninhibited fashion. So we have to find ways wherein millets and ragi are actually encouraged for the population. We have to find schemes wherein perhaps the government can provide millets rather than polished rice as part of incentive for the people. Yeah, so there's a large number in the population who are undetected, and perhaps below the age of 40, maybe around 35 to 40% of people who have diabetes do not know about it. And therefore the importance of screening and awareness is important, particularly in young women, those who are planning on marriage. It's important to pick up pre-diabetes, because this pre-diabetes can later on to diabetes in pregnancy. And so the preventive measures for young ladies who are college going and those who are planning on marriage in terms of tackling and preventing diabetes is very important to prevent gestational diabetes. As you know, diabetes in pregnancy per se is a risk factor which may subsequently lead to uncontrolled glucose, and this itself is a risk for the baby later on developing diabetes in adulthood.
சார், நீரிழிவுனால எவ்வளோ உயிரிழப்பு நம்ம தமிழகத்திலேயோ இல்லை இந்தியாவிலேயோ அதிகமாக இருக்குது? எவ்வளோ இருக்குது பர்சன்டேஜ்?
So in urban areas, the prevalence of diabetes may be as high as around 20 to 25%. In rural areas, depending on which part of the country you are, it can range from anywhere from 5% up to around 15 to 16%. Yeah, so most bottled beverages have a significant amount of carbohydrates. Sugar is a major additive to this, and the equivalent of anywhere from 5 to 10 spoons of sugar may be present in 200 to 300 ml of a bottled beverage. Alcohol in its own sense is actually high in carbohydrates in its own way. It has obviously other adverse effects on the body which are well known. Besides being high in carbohydrates, for example, beer contains a very high calorie content. Alcohol per se has other negative effects in terms of its effect on the liver. In the acute phase, the carbohydrate load is increased. It can increase glucose levels. In the chronic phase, the glucose content in the liver can drop, and this can actually make you much more prone for low sugars. And therefore, someone who has diabetes, taking alcohol has negative effects in both ways, increasing the risk of high glucose as well as increasing the risk of hypoglycemic attacks. Thank you so much.